This week is all about trying to plot reflections. And it's all based on your line of sight and how your line of sight bounces off of a shiny surface into the environment, and then what's in the environment around your object. And this is a very straightforward perspective construction. Um, and I'm going to give you all these layered files this week as well, so you can turn on off all the layers and double check that against my lecture, walk through all the steps yourself, build them yourself. So I'm going to also give you a few exercises this week to get you started and get you thinking about these perspective constructions so that we've got the ability to start plotting reflections. So this is how it starts. I know I set up this scene in Modo, so it's a 3D setup to illustrate the point. I have this matte surface here, and it's going to become chrome in a moment, but I want to predict where will these elements, namely, let me get a little notes layer up here at the top. This ball, the cylinder, this stripe, the other stripe, the yellow one, where are those going to be in my shiny surface? Okay, where are the reflections? So this is how you do that. It's one simple construction that you're going to use over and over and over again to plot, at least get you close, plotting all reflections. I also know in top view of this scene that this wall here, I'm going to go back to my sketch layer, put another one up here, is perpendicular to these stripes. Okay. If I had some more perspective guidelines, that these are effectively perspective guidelines, right? Because it's 90 degrees to that wall. So let's start with this construction. So what I've done here is I've just drawn a line through the middle of my black stripe, and I've just guessed at drawing the center of that cylinder, and I want to locate the center line of the cylinder over here in my illustration. So I took a line along the ground, and where it hits my shiny surface, I draw a vertical on that surface. Then I took the height of the cylinder and I drew it over into that surface. Now this is just a perspective guideline. This is just going to the left vanishing point, just like this one's going to the left VP. Same with all these lines. Those would all go to the left vanishing point. Okay, so that is how it starts. And that's what you always do first. You always project guidelines out of your shiny surface into the environment. And then we'll use those as reference lines to reflect our object into the surface. So the second part of the construction, divide that construction plane. So step one was to create the construction plane. Step two was to divide it so I can find the foreshortened center. And then I'm going to transfer that height of the center through the height line on my reflective surface. All I did there was just, again, draw to the left vanishing point, and I'm just guessing. I don't have it on my page. All I need is the height. I need that point right there. And the reason I need that is because I need to find this dimension right here. I need this, let's call that dimension A. I want to know where is, oh, that was awful line. I want to know where is that, right? Where is A1, for instance, over here in my reflective surface. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so you divide, find the height, and then you transfer from either corner. You could draw through this corner or the top one. I like the top one because it's a shorter line than this one. And then you're going to get a point over here in that plane. You draw a vertical from that point. That is the same vertical. And then we can pull the height across. Again, just drawing to the left vanishing point. So point A, here on the ground, the center line of my cylinder, is now over there. Using this mirroring construction. Again, just divide it, find halfway of the height, draw from either corner. In this case, I already had the line on the ground, so the top, and it's a shorter line. Especially when we draw these freehand later, they'll be easier to draw. That gave me point A. Point B in our our environment here, and then there's point B in our reflection. Double check it. There you go. There's the reflection turned on. I just hid the matte surface one. I have just two renderings, one with a matte wall, one with a chrome wall. I'm just turning it on and off. So that's the reflection, and turns out that construction works. Voila! That is the basic construction that you use to plot reflections over and over and over and over again. And that's what I'm going to do for you this first lesson, is show you a multitude of these constructions and then ask you to do a few of your own as homework. So let's turn that back off. Let's try and predict some of the rest of our reflection. Okay, this is a freebie because these are set up 90 degrees to that reflective wall. If they are, all you have to do when you want to reflect something when it's set 90 degrees to a reflective surface is just continue it straight into that reflective surface. We don't know yet where it ends. It ends, you know, those are just keep on going, but that's the direction they're going to go, and the convergence continues. So you really just draw these like the wall isn't even there, and you just go off to the left vanishing point. Okay, what I did here is I took my yellow line and I also just traced over that, right, with those construction lines, and then I drew an X to find the foreshortened center. Okay, same thing we did on the vertical plane here, but now it's on the ground. So I'm using the outermost perimeter of that plane, and then I'm going to transfer half of this dimension. That was like our height line over here, but now it's on the ground. So it doesn't matter what orientation you build these construction planes. This one's on the ground, or it could have been vertical. It works just the same way. So I'm going to draw that over. Now all I should have to do is draw from this corner or from this corner through the midpoint, and that will give me the foreshortened location of the outside of the yellow line. So let's do that. So I drew through both. Okay. If my construction's done accurately, I should be able to connect this point, and that should go to my right vanishing point and be the reflection of the outside edge of the yellow stripe. So there I am connecting those 2 points. And now let's just turn it on here and let's have a look. Yep, voila, matches, construction works. And now I'm doing the inside of the yellow square. So see my blue line here comes from the inside of the yellow stripe through the middle where it crosses here and here. I should be able to connect with a yellow stripe. Okay, double check it. Yep, it's still working. What about the ball? Where does the ball go? Well, let's go here. Draw a line into the mirror at 90 degrees. Remember, it's always about projecting. These constructions are always built 90 degrees to the reflective surface. This is kind of a freebie because this is 90 degrees to the reflective surface. I give you an easy one to start off with. So I take the height of the ball. I just draw a center line for where I think it's sitting on the ground. And I draw a line 90 degrees in perspective to my shiny plane, and now I want to know where is the ball location in the mirror. Okay, I'm still referencing some of my other construction lines, so I probably need those turned on. Let's clean it up a little bit so I can show you the basic construction. Yeah, I need that one. I don't need that one. Okay. Here's what I did. I already had those construction lines. I already had this plane, see where the yellow line is, and these two for the black stripes. I already had a big plane drawn, and I already had this diagonal. So all I did, because this was a diagonal that was left over from my X, right? When I drew the X here to find the foreshortened center of our first construction plane, I saw that, oh look, it got pretty close to where the ball was sitting on the ground. So instead of doing an entire new plane and then mirroring it over, I'm using that diagonal. I did a construction line to the left vanishing point, and I see that the ball is just sitting a little bit outside that diagonal. So all I've done is add a new diagonal, okay, that's mirroring this diagonal, and then all I have to do is just guess and just put a little tick mark for the placement of the ball a little bit outside. So you don't always have to draw a big rectangle plane and then mirror it over. You can use other constructions. In this case, we're using the diagonal and then just approximating based on where that's crossing. And that gives us the location of the ball. Well, I know it's probably looks, a bit awful when I turn on all the constructions here, but hopefully that is logical and makes sense as I walked you through it. So these things are always very straightforward, logical. That's why computers can do them so well. And you will also be able to do them well as you start to get your head around these constructions and how to think in perspective and think about these sort of in draft view. So that was the first one. We're going to move on and do 3 more of these flat surface constructions. And then we're going to move into curved surfaces. And then it'll be time for you to take over and do some of these exercises yourself. So let's move into the second one. What I've done now is I've taken this matte surface block, which I would love to see what are the reflections on that if that were chrome. And that's what we're going to figure out. And I've twisted it. So in top view, I've just twisted or rotated the position of that block in relation to these stripes, the cylinder and the ball. So what you need to do now is you need to first find the perspective that's given to you from the box. So in this case, I'm just tracing over the corners, right, and the edges of this box and extending those through my scene as guidelines that are going to help me estimate the reflection of our scene. So first, extend what's given to you. So extend 90 degrees again. These are guidelines, right? I know this is a 90-90 corner because it's a box, right? And all I need to do is extend off. This is going to be our shiny surface. Actually, this end and this end, the whole thing is. And what I need to do is extend that out into my scene so I can use that as a series of guidelines to help me find the reflection. So the next thing I do is I look in my environment and I say, where do I need to find a point? So it's all about plotting points. It's much like drawing symmetrical man-made objects, and when you mirror one half of an object in perspective, what you do is you do it with points, right? You find point A on the near side and put point A on the far side, and you keep doing that, and then you can draw your curves. Same thing with perspective drawing, except now we're mirroring an entire scene instead of points to do a drawing, but it's the same thing. It's a mirror, so it's just like the center line. So this surface here has basically become our center line for this entire scene to get mirrored across that center line. Okay, so it's the center line plane. So I just picked a point. I just extended my guideline. My guideline was already in my scene, and I said, oh, there's a point. There's a point there that I need to reference. And it hits this yellow line. I'd like to know, where is that over here? So what you do is you extend your guideline. Again, that's just tracing over what's already given to you. Okay, and you draw the X again. I want to find the foreshortened height here, like that. And now I want to draw again from the corner through the height. That would be, this X on the ground would be there. Now, it's not, that X wouldn't show up in the reflection of this plane, right? But the stripe continues behind it. I bet the stripe shows up. And what I need in order to draw that stripe is I need this point. So let's draw the next construction line. There's kind of a freebie, right? So if you get clever and you look, and I extend my mirrored surface, I see that, oh, right over here at the edge of my frame, the yellow line hits the extension of that mirror. That means that the reflection would have to leave from that point, and it's a straight line from here to here. So all I need to do is connect from this point over to this little X on the left. So that's all I did with the yellow line. That is a reflection of this inside line for the stripe. And let me get rid of the, sorry, looking for my red. It's cluttering it up. There we go. Yeah, okay, let's go there. That's my height. That's projection across, right? That's the auto foreshortening construction, which is so useful in perspective. To find that, there was our reflection of the stripe. And let's have a look. Yep, inside edge of my stripe reflecting across. So, all right, what about the ball? Well, let's see. Okay, let me turn on a couple of these. Oh, the first thing is this guy. I'm doing the inside edge of the black stripe. And so what I'm doing here is I already knew where the yellow stripe was. Let me turn back on that guy. Okay, probably I'll leave all these on except for the red stuff. So I said, well, looking at this scene, are there any other freebies in here? Well, yes, because this red stripe, sorry, no, I'm going to give myself a notes layer up there. The black stripe on the ground leaves from right there. So I know that's where the reflection has to start. I just don't know what direction, right, that edge goes in. Oh, I exactly hit that point. Sorry. I don't really know what direction it goes. So the way I answer that is say, well, I know the black stripe hits the yellow one. There's a point. So if here's a point, where is that? Right over here. And the way you answer that is you draw a guideline here going back to the left vanishing point again. Okay, again, it's 90 degrees to my reflected plane, and all I need to do is say, if I can draw from here, just guessing, looking at my guidelines, into the mirror, that means where that line is hitting my yellow stripe, there's the point. Okay, so if that's this point here is this one in the foreground, it's connected by a straight line, and I know it has to start here, my reflection then must be there. So right there is going to be the black reflection of the stripe. Let's check it. Yep, looks good. Okay, what's next? Doing the same thing at the back, just added a little construction line on the black stripe. And where is it going to go? Here, I've added a few more guidelines. Okay, because I need more guidelines, I need more help. There's too much empty space there that I don't have enough reference to help me guess where those lines are going to go. So I tried to draw in some additional lines just using the line tool. And then I've extended those. So I took this point right where I'm just guessing underneath this red cylinder where the edge of the yellow stripe, just repeating the front construction at the back. Okay, hits there, I'm drawing across in perspective to the left vanishing point, right? And then I would just want to mirror that over. But all I had to do was draw it until it hit the yellow line, and then all I have to do is connect the dot. Again, that's the direction for our reflection. Same here. I put a white line on that cylinder. It's just ahead a little bit on the yellow stripe, so I can draw parallel in perspective to this guy, parallel in perspective there, hits the yellow stripe. That should then locate this white line that I put on the edge of the cylinder. And then what about the height? Well, again, draw a line across the top, right? Again, going to the left VP, right? So again, all perspective, heading to the left VP. And remember, it's the left VP of this box. It's not where the black stripes are going. It's the left vanishing point, not for the scene of the stripes, but the scene of the box, right? They have two sets of vanishing points. Okay, and then that would be the height. And let's check it. Yep, right at the corner. That's where the height of the cylinder is. All right, that's all very good, but I want this entire box to be chrome. So what happens up here, right? That was just one side. So now let's try and do the front side. I guess not really the front side, it's the end of this box. I call it the front end here. Don't know why. Okay, I start over the same way. I just retrace my perspective guidelines from my box into my scene, extending with some guidelines. Now these are all going to the right vanishing point of the box. And do the same construction, right? Because I know that this line is probably going to reflect in here somewhere. I just don't know where, right? I mean, I can guess it's going to probably be heading off in, this direction, maybe there, here. I'm not sure where it is. So I want to answer that, and I do one little construction. Okay, so I just draw, and this, this box could be any height, but I know I want to leave from this point on the ground, right here. I know that's the point I want over here. So I draw a little box, and that box again could have been any height. And you just draw an X, find the height line here, go from a corner through the middle. That will give you that point. So voila, from the corner through the middle, there's the point. Okay, once I have that, okay, all I did was extend my guideline until it hit the edge of my stripe, and here it's a straight line from that point to that point. So all you have to do to find your reflection is draw a straight line from this point through to the point that we found, and that's that. And then we will turn on the reflection, and look at that, nice reflection. What about the front? This I'm just estimating. Okay, I'm just saying, oh well, on this line I know that it's, give me foreshortened a little bit, so I'll just put a tick mark there. That's probably close enough. It leaves from here where it hits, so draw a straight line, and that's the other side. And that is all there is to it. So easy. No, I'm kidding, right? This is not easy. This is actually the worst week of this entire course. I tell you, it's painful, but it's important, and it's unfortunately where we have to start. So there it is with all the construction turned on. But again, it's all layered for you. I'll give you this layered file, and you can pick it apart and replay it as many times as you like, and try building those constructions yourself. So that's it for number 2. Moving on to number 3. So what I've done, same box, new scene, and I have tilted this wall or this box towards our scene. So it's leaning down towards us, towards that ball. And basically we're going to do the 4 constructions of 4 orientations of our wall. All we've done is we started with that vertical wall that was perpendicular to our scene and to our stripes. Then we rotated it in top view. Now we're rotating it from this end view here. I've just rotated it kind of on its corner, and I've just rotated here, pulled it over towards our scene. And that's going, how does that affect our reflections? That's what we want to answer. The next one we're going to do is we're going to tilt it the opposite direction, and that'll be cover all 4 orientations, 4 axes. So matte surface, I want it to be chrome, and I really want to know, how does a reflection change when I tilt a panel towards us? It's actually the same thing as we just did. The entire scene's been turned 90 degrees. So what I want you to see is that it's always the same construction, and what you have to get good at, you have to get good at guessing a new constructed grid off of your shiny surface. So this is my shiny surface that I'm going to construct from. I just retraced the perspective guidelines. Okay, so I went to my corners. I just extended through my scene and extended here to the right vanishing point. And now I have guidelines, right, and my vertical. The vertical is really important. And what I need to do is build a new grid extending off of that surface, hitting some of the key points in my scene to help me plot the direction of those stripes. So I know this stripe is going to leave from right there, so that's why I put a vertical here. And this red is just a guideline. Okay, I've extended it into my scene, but it's going to my left vanishing point. right? But the arrows, it's just there referencing that that's the direction I drew it into my scene. Again, it's just all with the line tool in Photoshop. Okay, and then what you want to do, you say, well, this is the point we need over here. How do I get that point over here into my reflective surface? Okay, so you have to do a little deductive reasoning and say, well, here's my 90-degree grid. Okay, I probably should drop from this point. I'm going to build a plane that goes right through this intersection. Okay, but I'm not going to use this ground line. I'm going to use my new 90-degree line, because what's happened is we rotated this over. Basically, the guidelines here along the bottom and the top, these big long ones, they've all rotated with our box. So we have basically a new construction grid, right, which is this red line. And we have to find elements of our scene and mirror them using that. So let's do that. So there's a line. I strategically put it through this point. Okay, and now I want to create a plane. It was already there for me. All I had to do was just look and say, oh, look, I have a plane. It has a point on this line. All I need to do is mirror that line into the reflective surface. I know how to do that, right? We've done it now multiple times. Draw an X, transfer the height, transfer from one corner through the middle, and then this point now here is over there. Again, the point doesn't show up, and that's not what I care about. I want to now find this guy. So what you need to do, there's the red dot I just turned on. I want to find that point in my reflection. So that's the construction. You go over here, draw a vertical, again looking at your vertical guidelines you've established. So draw a vertical from that point up, and then just transfer across, okay, using this point. So draw from that point, going to your left vanishing point, and where it hits, there is your point, from this side over to that side. And you say, well, I know what's going to happen probably next is that if I look here, my reflection leaves from here, it goes through that point. I bet that's going to be the reflection of this edge of the stripe. Let's see how we do. Let me turn off some of that clutter. There we go. Bing. The yellow, sorry, yellow. It's not even yellow, not even close. It's blue. That blue line I just drew should be the reflection of the edge of the stripe in the mirrored surface. Let's have a look. Cha-ching. That's money right there. So, nice construction. All right, let's keep going. What else do I know about this? Well, I know that there's a yellow line, and the outside edge of that yellow line is heading to the right vanishing point, right, in my scene. Because this surface in top view, right, this edge of my box is parallel to this stripe, okay, I know that both this stripe, the outside edge and the inside edge, and all of these corners, the long corners, here, here, and here on my box, all go to the right vanishing point. So if you know that, all you need to do for the construction of that reflection, all you need to have is the starting point, and then just draw to the right vanishing point. So that's where the yellow line's going to. I just went to this point, which we had, and just drew to the right vanishing point, and that should be the reflection of the outside edge of my yellow stripe. And it is. Okay, now I'm just transferring the inside edge over to where it hits that blue line, and I'm drawing the yellow line. That's now the thickness, and you'll see that I see it's fatter than it is here in the foreground, and that's because the reflection is actually seeing more of the top view of this stripe than our line of sight is from the camera. So this is actually seeing more of the ground, right? Because we tilted it towards the ground. That means it's actually seeing more of the ground in the reflection. So that's why that's fatter. And double check it. Yep. And it is. Okay. And here's the last one, which is the inside edge of the black stripe. Okay. I can turn that one off. And now we're going to figure out Okay, I've retraced those lines, those guidelines again, and I've carried over my yellow line, actually both of them. Now what I want to do is I want to figure out where is the red cylinder in this reflection. What happens to this vertical? We figured out the stripes, right? That's the flat ground plane reflecting in, but we haven't figured this out. So what I need to do is create a new plane. So I'm just going to put a line here, a vertical line on the surface of that cylinder. It looks like it almost hits that black and yellow stripe. So I'm just going to run that into this, and I'm going to put a vertical construction line there, like so. So I've added two verticals, and I've reinforced where that hits the mirror. Okay, and now I'm drawing this red line is key. This red line, what's interesting about that, let me just highlight that for you. Let's use a really atrocious color. Okay, what's important about that line is that it's leaving from the point that I want. Okay, remember the one up here we actually drew under and then we transferred down. Okay, this one I'm actually starting at the point I want, and I'm drawing this 90 degrees. This is the key. 90 degrees to this vertical line. So in perspective, that construction line is 90 degrees, okay, based on all my guidelines. So looking at this guideline, right, and this guideline and this one, those are all 90 degrees to that reflective surface. So what you have to do is draw a line from the point you want, right? So if I was drawing that line from scratch, okay, I'd start here and I just pull over like this using my line tool. And I would say, where is that going to my left vanishing point for the box? No, not here. Not looking at my white guideline. No, that's going to hit too soon. Right here, it would hit right up top. So that's my best guess right there. That's going to my left VP. Okay, so that's where the red line came from. That one. Okay, now look, it hits the yellow line. Great, I already had the yellow line there. I bet that's the point we need over there in my reflection. That's going to be where the white line on the side of the cylinder starts. Okay? So now what? Well, now we've got to figure out what angle does this line go at in our reflection, right? I can see it's at an angle. So the question is, let's do another notes layer up here. Okay, so I've got this line. Whoops, got the line tool on again. Let's say I've got this line here. Okay, and I know the base of it through this construction is there. What I don't know is what direction does that vertical reflect in my mirror. So what I need to do is find that angle over here. So here's how you find the angle. All I did was say, well, I already have a freebie construction line right here. It's hitting my vertical. So what I want to do is, I'm just going to draw a box here. Okay. So what I did was, I just said, well, there's a new point. There's my center. Okay. I'm going to draw a line here that's parallel in perspective to my vertical. Oh, it hits right up here. Okay. I now have a box. Right now I have a new construction box right here. That will give me a point somewhere on this line. And if I already have this one, and I get a new point on that line here, if I connect those with a straight line, that should give me the angle that I need. So let's see what I would do. Well, divide it again. See, it's the same thing over and over. You just have to, do a little deductive reasoning on where to place them. Foreshorten height, transfer the point. There's my 2 points, right? The points are there and there. And there's my true angle here. That's this line mirrored into my reflection over there. And let's double check it. Let's turn on the reflection. Voila. That line is the center line of my cylinder. So we found it. And remember, I just drew it on the side there. Well, that's not really center line, sorry. It's the line leaving from the intersection of the black and yellow lines on the ground. So it's a line on the side of the cylinder. Here it just happens to look in the center, but it's parallel to the sides, right? It's that true vertical of the cylinder. I think that's freaking cool. So I hope you like that. That is number 3. We've got 1 to go. It's time for our last construction of the flat planes. Of course, we'll be using this throughout the entire course to help us estimate more accurately where the reflections of our environments are going to go. But in this case, I've taken the box and I've tilted it away instead of towards our scene. And this stripe in top view is perpendicular to this long side of the box. So all I'm going to do first, I put a few stripes here to help us find the perspective. There's not a lot to go on. And I didn't do that. If I had done the drawing from scratch, I'd probably have a lot of guidelines through here, which would be very helpful. So I've added a couple. So there's some guidelines running through. Again, just extending what's already there. Okay. And what I want to answer is, what is the reflection of this stick going to look like? Do we see the reflection of this stripe here? Do we see the reflection of the ground at all? Is this all sky? And do I see that stick? So what you need are the guidelines first. Okay. And then all you need to do is find this vertical in that plane. So I made a new layer and I'm just going to grab, let's do this in, I don't know, let's do a orange-ish. Okay, so what do we have? Well, we know that we've got this line on the ground, okay, and that's where the base of that stick is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just retrace the vertical here, okay, and I want to find that line over here. How do you do that? Well, you've got to go to this plane and say, well, here is the vertical, that would be the vertical on the box itself, okay, and I want to find that point over here somewhere, and I want to find the base right over there somewhere. So if you look at this for a minute, you can say, well, I think maybe if I extend this line further down, okay, and I extend this vertical down until they hit, that creates a point. So all I really need to do now, okay, I just extended the mirror into the ground. I extended the vertical pole till they hit. All I really need to do now is find this point, the top, somewhere over here, and if I connect that to this point down in the ground, that should be the line I need. So how do you do that? Well, you can put any construction plane you want and mirror it over to find that point. So let's just randomly draw one. Let's say, well, let's build a plane. Usually I try to keep the drawing clean, but you can really put it anywhere you want. So I'm going to use my guidelines again. So I'm drawing that guideline. I'm just guessing, right? It's parallel to these verticals, right? And again, they're the verticals of my box, not of the pole. And I'm drawing this line, looking at my guidelines, something like that. And I could use this line that already exists. Okay, and let's add a new layer. And we'll do that one yellow. All I need to do is find the foreshorten center and transfer that over, right? Again, drawing another line using my guidelines. Okay, and then I could draw from here through there, or I could draw from here and then bring it down. If I'm feeling like it's going to be accurate enough, I usually almost always draw across the short direction because that's much more accurate where it intersects. So you'll see if I'm off here slightly, the distance can move quite a bit. So, well, I don't know if my construction is quite accurate enough, but that should be that point, right, across this mirrored center line. And now that I have that, I should be able to draw from this point that we put down in the ground through that. That should be this angle inside that reflected surface. I'm off a little bit. I got a little sloppy there. These fat construction lines. But that's it. You see, and this is where I was talking about if I'm off a little bit. If I'm off a little bit through the center here, look at how much it changes, right? If I'm just move it over that much, now it would have been here, and I would have constructed like that, and it would have been dead center. So this is maybe a nice example of drawing through this way gives you a little bit more accuracy. The problem is you'd have to transfer it back down, right, and draw another guideline parallel to your vertical, which isn't easy either. So that's why I went for this one, but it was off a little bit. Anyway, very close. That's the construction. It answers the question, yes, we would see the reflection. Oops, I didn't want to use that thing. I wanted my brush. You would see the reflection of the pole and everything else, right? My line of sight's bouncing up to the sky. So it's going to be sky, and it's going to be just the stick, and we don't see any of the reflection of the stripe. Bonus points there if somebody wants to try and construct the reflection of that shadow. It's actually pretty easy, but requires a little bit of thought.